Have you been noticing people are acting extra crazy these days? Especially if you're in the customer service industry, maybe you're a lawyer, doctor, or maybe you work at a restaurant. I've noticed it. This past week has been crazy. I've dealt with lots of nuts, but today I'm going to talk about why they're acting that way and more importantly, what you can do to protect your energy. Let's get after it. All right, what is up, everybody? Mr. International up here in the Heezy. This ring light's a bit bright, so if I look away a little bit, it's just so that I don't hurt my eyes. Thanks for joining. A little bit of a gap between last episode and this one, but lots to share. And this is just proof in the pudding of how important it is to set up boundaries and say no and just stand in your power. So this past week was nice and smooth. We had a little bit of a slowdown with getting new clients, but what I really wanted to talk about was the week before this week. Last week was what could have been described as a train wreck or a shit show, which is ironic considering the last video we talked about in terms of, how people are acting erratic because of the news cycle and things like that and how to stay off the news. So last week was a very good reflection of that and how it's important to deploy these countermeasures to maintain your peace. So I remember last week, Mondays are usually kind of crazy, and that's why usually on Mondays I tend to kind of take it easy and not look at emails and things like that, because Mondays everybody's frantic and they want answers that have built up over the week for questions that have built up over the weekend. And so what I do, as I've discussed in other episodes, is I try to just kind of coast into the week by not doing too much on Monday. Now on Monday, I got towards the end of the day and I was like, wow, I got through a Monday without any fires to put out and things were pretty smooth. And sure enough, at around 5 p.m. when the day's over, because that's when shit usually happens, of course, I get a text message from my partner sent to our little group chat that there's this really unhappy client, and I guess the husband is emailing him saying he feels like an afterthought because nobody's responding to his emails, which, of course, he's trying to reach out saying, well, what should I say? What should I say to the client? Now, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to have the volume of clients we have with, me handling everything, at least at the higher level. So, I needed to, this is the thing with legal clients, you can't just answer quickly back. You have to look into the file and see what's going on. And so nonetheless, I kind of looked into it and, the husband he felt a bit butthurt that nobody was responding to his emails, which I thought is weird only because of the fact that you could pick up a phone. I guess in 2025, nobody wants to pick up phones anymore, which doesn't piss me off because I actually don't like phone calls that much. But on the flip side, if I send an email to somebody and I don't get a response in a day or two or ever, I'm going to assume they missed it and I'm going to pick up a phone. So instead of doing that logical thing, or at least it's logical to me, the client decided to, when nobody responded to his first email, he decided to just write this really, oh, woe is me, nobody's responding to my email thing. I get, quote, unquote, he says, I guess I'm an afterthought. Ah, poor you. Anyway, so, the next day, actually right away, I looked into it. I was looking at the case notes. And, the thing with this guy's case, as an example, is his wife was the one spearheading everything. And this is one thing that we've changed recently. It's always the family members that are managing. It's always cases where the family members that are managing things where, the customer service on their end looks like it goes away because you have two people handling things where one person is just too much of a who knows what to handle their own life. So they have, a mother, father, spouse trying to spearhead their legal things. Now, for the first time ever, the husband shows up, emails us, nobody replies, and he's like, oh, nobody's replying to my email. Now, he's caught me at a great time in my life because I hammer those nails down really quick. So I looked into the file we're in the process of doing something at what we call the litigation level where we have to deal with the courts. That takes forever. It takes months. And it's not unusual that there was no update in the case for the last month or so, because now it's in what we call the litigation section. Those things take months and months and months and months and years sometimes, literally. So the next morning, I decided to also reach out to my paralegal who's handling this next component so we could coordinate, and so my paralegal could call the client back. When I say client, I mean the wife, because she's the one spearheading things, so they don't sit there crying. Now, the funny part is this had happened before with this client, and I don't understand where they're coming from, because the wife has my cell phone number. She's texted me before. We've had long conversations before. And when they felt ignored before, my partner had also talked to them and explained them the section part of their case. Now, without putting you guys to sleep on the legalities, I'm in the mood for setting fine boundaries. So I talked to my paralegal. We went through the file. We came up with a game plan of what we were going to tell the client to explain why the case is lagging a little bit. And it's actually not lagging, but why they think it's lagging. And also to tell them, hey, pick up a phone and call us. So I started off with the preemptive attack of responding to the email saying, hey, nobody's ignoring you. You're not an afterthought. Your case is in litigation and months can pass before there's an update. However, my paralegal will call you. So my paralegal immediately after I sent that email in our two-pronged attack called them, and she had a really good conversation with the wife now, because this is how it gets confusing. You're dealing with two different people for the same matter. And they had a great conversation. The wife was a little bit dramatic, as she usually is, actually. I'm sure she knows that she is, but not in a negative way. And, she was just clients, what I've learned in life in the legal profession is they don't even necessarily care that a case isn't progressing. They just want to know that somebody is keeping in touch with them. Now, we have this bizarre habit of not keeping in touch or updating people when there's no update, because that's a complete waste of our time and resources. So with that said, we solved the problem, and the client was fine. Everything was fine. They were explained what's going on. We're done. So I thought. The client then sends an email, which wasn't even a negative email, simply sends an email to everybody, myself and my staff, outlining the issue, just saying, hey, thanks for calling me. I just wanted to clarify everything and what's going to happen next. Now, because some people may have drama addictions, maybe traumas too. I said drama, not trauma, and then I said trauma, in case you didn't hear that. One of my paralegals who had been working the file completely interpreted that email the wrong way. She took the email to mean that the client was throwing her under the bus for not expediting her file. That paralegal at that point has nothing to do with what's going on now. And for whatever reason, she took that to mean the client. And I inferred this, I think my other paralegal number 2 inferred this too. She inferred it to mean that one of us had, when we talked to the client, had blamed paralegal number 1 and thrown her under the bus for the reason the file hadn't progressed. Never happened whatsoever. In fact, quite the opposite. Paralegal number 1 was praised for having gotten her section ready, and now the case was under review by us, the litigation department. I don't know if you're following. I'll expedite this for you guys too, so you don't fall asleep. So what ends up happening is this creates this text message storm between the whole law firm about one of the paralegals thinking one of us threw her under the bus to the client to save face, when nothing of the sort happened. Instead of now going from problem 1 and putting it to rest because we solved it, now, for no reason, an employee is creating problem number 2, where they think they're under attack. That's something that we can't solve, right? Because that's something that individual, when their reaction is so disproportionate to what's going on, you have to understand that person probably needs some sort of therapy outside of what you can counsel them on, especially when something's plain as day. And this is important for you, because I want to tell you this. when you're dealing with people and they're reacting to something that you didn't do, they're not actually reacting to you. But if they're reacting towards you for something you didn't actually do, they're really reliving a trauma or something from their past that they've never resolved. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this again and again. It's not your job to be somebody's psychologist, their psychiatrist, or their therapist, unless they're your best friend, a family member, or whatever. You don't need to. You just need to draw that boundary and let them figure things out. So instead of this situation devolving unnecessarily further at my company's level, I simply told everybody, I said, this is the end of this. If anybody I said, number one, nobody is allowed to put another employee on blast in a group chain ever again. That's a new rule starting immediately, because this employee number one had started going down this path of like being a little bit, in my opinion, belligerent, disrespectful to me too, as the owner, in the months leading up to this. Initially, I'd let her get away with it because of the fact that we were understaffed and I knew she was under a lot of pressure, and this job takes a lot of stress and it takes its toll on you psychologically. So I kind of let her have me as a bit of an outlet. I was her exhaust pipe, if you will, and I tolerated it. It was a business decision of mine to do that. Unfortunately, it looked like it opened the door to that being the norm. So now I just shut that down. It was time to hammer that nail down too. So we hammered the client's nail down, and now I had to stand up to the employee and be like, this ends. There's no more putting other people on blast. If you have a problem, talk to some of us in the management positions about your grievances. And I said, that's the end of this. I don't want to hear about this ever again. And, I pushed back very hard in a way that, and the individual wasn't used to that, because I'd always been very soft and jovial about things. But I followed up that message with, look, we're a team. People are acting very crazy today with the news cycle, and we need to hold the line. We need to trust that each other has each other's backs and not assume the client is right. And if it looks remotely like the client is pitting one of us against the other, assume the client's lying, or assume the client's just simply wrong. Don't come on a text chain and start attacking employees like your reputation is at stake. There's only one reputation that matters, and that's mine, actually. So when you're the lawyer, the paralegal, nobody gives a crap about your reputation. You're supposed to even fall on the sword to protect my reputation. But egos get in the way. She was very unhappy. Now we're a week and a half later, that I'm now finding out that employee is very upset still. I forgot about it the next day. The other employees, just so you know, were over it too. And they actually respected me more because I gave a very positive speech about how we should take care of each other and have each other's backs instead of letting these clients get in between us. But you know what? I don't care. And that's why it's super important to stand up for yourself, because the way I looked at it, it was time to stand up. So that was Monday evening. So that's how the week started. But I felt good because I was able to stand up for myself. Now we move on to the next morning. Here's where it gets great. This psychotic client, and I have nothing else to call her but psychotic, who's wasted thousands of dollars of my law firm's time. She's an attorney as well. Acts crazy. She will ask you for updates, ask you why nothing's happening, even though things are happening. And then when you say, look, check back with us in 60 days, I kid you not, she will start emailing you and calling and texting about 3 or 4 days after that, after you've literally told her, screw off. This has now gone on for over a year. Her and her friend, they have driven everybody absolutely nuts. There's clearly something wrong with them, because nobody behaves like this, much less lawyers who know that things in the legal process take time. And so we were almost going to drop their case, but as a favor to these people, because they're lawyers, I said, no, let's keep grinding on this case. Without boring you to death on the details, we finally got this case to the end. No other attorney or law office would have put up with this nonsense. Out of the blue, I wake up on Tuesday morning to this incredibly nasty email from this client slash attorney to my paralegal saying, I'm not going to say her name, but paralegal, you are a liar. You're gaslighting me. You've never contacted me, never called me. And believe it or not, she was complaining because we had actually finished the case and sent out her check. And believe it or not, she's mad that we've sent out her check without consulting with her, when all she's done is harass us for a payment. She might be the most broke attorney I've ever heard of, given how small her case is. I've never seen somebody who's an attorney be this desperate for what amounts to peanuts financially. It's embarrassing. But long story short, I wake up to this crazy email directed to my paralegal that my paralegal is a liar. My paralegal's never tried to contact her. Lo and behold, we I don't know what kind of firm she works at, but we keep very detailed notes, and the notes were very thorough. That my paralegal had even had the email copied and pasted, and the client had never responded. Now, me knowing this psycho is desperate for money, I told my paralegal, just send the check out to her, because I don't want her to start blowing us up that nobody's getting a hold of her. So just get this case off of our books, send the check out, and we're done. So instead of that, and so that happened, but that made the client mad. Makes sense of that. I don't know. So here's what I did. Well, actually, I told my paralegal, who I know is going to be, because my paralegal is unfortunately very fragile these days, very, sensitive to these things. I told her, don't respond. Don't say anything back. I'm going to handle this. And this is the shitty part of being a lawyer. You have to handle these. And this is what I'm telling you. Like, you may be wondering, why are people acting all crazy? Well, exactly. This stuff isn't happening in isolation. It's happening because of everything that's going on outside. It's making everybody act crazy. And you're seeing it because we didn't see any of this stuff last year, right? You'd have your occasional nutty client, but now you're seeing this happen over and over and over again, like day by day. So this is only story number 2. So what ends up happening is this client now starts texting me. Now, I don't have her phone number locked into my phone, and this idiot decides to she's texting me like gibberish without introducing herself. And she's even saying the names of the people at my firm she's interacting with, but she's not even mentioning the right names. Like, I don't even know the names. She has the names wrong. So I text back saying, I don't know who this is, whoever it is. And I knew who it was actually just because of the interaction, but I'm like, I don't know who this is. I said, can you call me? And the person kept rambling. And I said, I guess you can't read. I literally told you to call me if you have an issue, because I have no clue who this is or who you're talking about. I have nobody at my law firm by those names. So the client calls me. Here's where things get fun. And this is a good strategy for you guys. Instead of me sitting there quietly and letting the client vent, and for an empath, that's a terrible idea because you're absorbing all of that. And this is bright and early in the morning, by the way. Before she could get a word out, I just started laying into her. You're the most unprofessional person I've ever met and one of the worst clients I've ever met. And by doing that, it completely took her off her game. And that's why they sometimes say the best defense is a good offense. Because when these clients think they're going to steamroll you and you're just going to sit there like a McDonald's counter, somebody at the counter at McDonald's just taking it, and before you can take it, you shove the fries down their mouth, it completely disarms them. Instead of listening and absorbing her nonsense, I went on a rampage against her for the nonsense she's been doing for the last year. I didn't let her, instead of holding back and being Mr. Customer Service, I outlined all the stupidity, how incredible it was that she's an attorney bugging us every 2 days about case updates when she's in an area of law where things take years to do. And let's just put it this way, by the end of the conversation, she was apologizing. I even read the email that that my employee had written to her saying, hey, we can't get a hold of you. We're going to send your check out. And that's what's up. And so when you say that nobody's ever contacted you, do you not realize we have telephone records and even emails sent to you? But like for you to come out, even if you miss them, for you to come out on attack mode on us after I said, and she kept trying to sell it on, well, I know my case is low down on your list of things to do. To which I had to truthfully respond and say, while you think your case is low down on our list, you've been such a pain in our ass. Your case is at the top of our list. I kid you not. We have literally put more time into your case that's worth a few $1,000s than $1 million cases we have. And I'm actually not even exaggerating as I say this to you. And I told her that. And you've been such a pain in the ass. I've lost thousands of dollars on your case paying my employees just to get your case done and get it out of here because you're exhausting us. You've ground everybody into a pulp. And by the end of the conversation, she had no clue what to say. And it was really more a monologue of me just going off on her. And unfortunately, you have to deal with people, you have to speak their love language because, like I've said, often people aren't coming at you because of anything that you've done, but probably something else happened to her that week or the last week, or maybe her life just sucks. So she's trying to find the easy target to unload or release all of that negative energy. And I used to be that guy. And now I don't do that. And it felt so rewarding to know by the end of that conversation, she was apologizing. And that was it. So that was number 2. Now this podcast is getting a little long, but I'm going to finish the other 2 on part 2 of this episode because I don't want this thing to be that long. And I'm going to talk about the next couple of things that happened last week, also dealing with clients, acting belligerent, and me completely just calling them out without any filters. I can't tell you what it felt like for me as a human being and as an empath to just speak my truth and not put up with BS. So at least for today's episode, if you can extrapolate something to take home today and use in your personal life, which is just speak your truth. Don't couch anything in soft language. Don't put up with BS. Just say, hey, this isn't right. And one other strategy I'm going to leave you with today is speak over people and speak first. It's kind of like Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. And so what I found is, and this will be my next episode, which is when you stop somebody before you can sense they're about to come at you, it completely throws them off their game. It stops them dead in their tracks. Their brain has to do a 180 and they don't know what to do. And in the next example I'm going to give you on the next episode, it was such a mic drop moment. The client was left saying this, and me and my other paralegal were just high-fiving each other. But that episode is coming to you tomorrow.